and Julia came to wish Sister Belen and her son a Merry Christmas. Manel shows his boyfriend his cat, Lucal, which he follows through an automatic feeder. On the way home, there's a spat between Manel and Julia, which is why Julia doesn't watch the road and nearly crashes into a car. The pair catch their breath and get ready to continue their trip, but a truck appears and crashes into the car. Julia doesn't survive the accident. A year later, the authorities begin to discuss the topic of closing the borders. Daniel, the General Director of Security, says that there are clashes with police at the border and the incidence of the Tessaitia virus has occurred. All the calculations, there are a couple of days left before more radical measures. Because of this news, the city is very empty. Many are afraid to leave their apartments. Some politicians suggest that everything looks like biological weapons, and he assures us that the cause of the outbreak was abandoned laboratories of the USSR. Manel arrives at the pier, where Maria was waiting for him. She wants to buy his boat. Later, Manel goes shopping, ignoring Belen's calls. Panic buying leads to a 2-item limit per customer. Panic intensifies by the minute. Health Minister announces 2 cases, claims control. Manel calls sister, her husband Mario takes him. Man mentions he couldn't sell the boat. The girls wanted something more modern. Belen says Mario's job lets them wait out the epidemic on Canary Islands. Mario's told to check comms, no further info. Belen wants Manel to join as he's alone. Manel admits he wasn't being honest. He reconsiders, packs up with his cat for the airport. Manel sees neighbors packing up and leaving. All due to news of virus mutation. What's he put on? European authorities in a tough spot. Mutation cuts incubation to minutes or hours. Transmission through contact or bite possible. Airborne spread not confirmed yet. All this happened last night. Manel boards, but red flag cancels all flights. Emergency alert hits phones. Panicked man rushes to plane. Guard chases after him. Belen tells brother virus mutated again. Incubation now just minutes max. He needs to get home fast. City exodus causes huge traffic jam as military arrives. The radio reports that a man attacked 2 officers. They urgently needed evacuation. Manel decides to walk home with his cat, seeing the traffic jam as pointless. He only reached the city late at night. Ambulances zigzag around due to a quarantined house. Manel wants to ask what's happening, but soldiers warn him to stay back as they remove the infected. He's shocked to see his neighbor has gone mad. A new day dawns. Belen says authorities plan safe zones, but the army worries more people mean more infections. Belgium has already seen examples. Manello finds it safer to stay home. TV reports Munich's full lockdown, not Europe's first. Social media shows the horror in those cities, both in Europe and the US. One guy figured out how to hide from the infected so they couldn't bite him. Suddenly, all of Spain is declared a state of emergency. The population might be mobilized. Manello decides to go to the store. People there have forgotten all rules and started panicking. They're grabbing everything in sight. Dog food's all that's left. Jets fly overhead, then a man bursts in. Zombies are here. Manel tries to save the man, nearly becoming lunch himself if not for an injured cop. Another cop, locked in the store, has already turned. Manel realizes he needs to run. The president announces the disease is out of control worldwide. All cities over 400,000 people are now quarantine zones. The only thing citizens can do now is to follow all military orders. Manel realizes he's on his own, so he starts fortifying his house for defense. At night, soldiers announce evacuation. Refusal to comply will have consequences. Manel considers boarding the bus, but his sister warned against it. They'll save him soon. Good thing Manel has solar panels and batteries, or he'd have no power at all. Food supplies are practically gone. No, he had to raid for supplies. Armed, he searched houses, thinking no neighbors were left until he found a woman. Gabriella points to a house where food should be. She saw residents bring in packages, then leave with soldiers. They likely didn't eat everything. Searching there, he even finds a motorcycle with keys, expanding his search area. Still, the haul is poor. Manel found 2 radios, one for himself, the other he gives to the woman. Later, Manel enters a new house, hears footsteps. He fires quickly, nearly killing a man who flees in fear. But this house had food to share with Gabriella. Late at night, Gabriella asks him to turn on the radio. It broadcasts a message for survivors and their shelter's location. Their supplies are almost gone, and Manel suggests taking a risk. Gabriella fears her disability will burden others, but Manel assures her he'll help. By morning, he's ready, but Gabriella stops responding. Manel rushes to her house, finding a note. She thanks him but chose to end her life to not burden him. As he leaves, a zombie attacks him. Manel charges Harpun and fires. Fearing Harpun might be dangerous, he douses it with boiling water. He carefully documents everything. He messages his sister about reaching the shelter. Leaving town, he finds an abandoned military post. Engine noise attracts the infected. Manello reaches a camp. They thought the forest was safe, but were wrong. His bike breaks down, but he makes it behind the pier's fence just in time. Another problem, all boats are gone. In the store, he grabs useful items and takes note. Taking off his shoes, he swims to a lonely boat to check why it won't start. Inside, he finds a zombie child. His only option is to use an inflatable boat. Late at night, Russians find him and take him to their barge, where Lucas and Manel can eat before being given a small cot. The next day, Manel must tell them where to find supplies. Manel asks if they have found any other survivors. Victor assures him they haven't, but that night new refugees arrive. By morning, Manel doesn't see any of them. Victor pretends no one came at night, but then why is their boat on board? And he keeps one of the doors locked. Manel realizes he needs to ask Victor to tell the truth. Victor, kinder than the other men, advises Manel to keep a low profile. That way, Manel will be safe. In the evening, he packs his things and tries to escape with the cat, but his desire to know what's below is much stronger. He frees a man who was too noisy. A sailor arrives to help with Victor, who defends Manello and takes out the thug. They try to sneak onto a boat but get spotted. They open fire and Victor gets hit by a bullet. There were cars on the shore, one with keys still in it. They rush to the hospital where a helicopter should be. Victor can fly it and should take them to the island. Clearly, all the sick were brought there, so zombies are everywhere. After the first wave, he tries to remove the bullet from Victor, but sees girls playing upstairs. Mattia asks them to help Victor. They need to escape the staff and hide in a safe zone. Later, they stabilize Victor, but his fever will last at least a day. The nurse adds there's a helicopter near the hospital, surrounded by zombies in quarantine. It's too dangerous to go there. While thinking over a plan of action, messages start coming in from his sister, who is still there, waiting for him. Shots are heard in the distance as the bandits have tracked them down. They need to get to the helicopter before them. There were casualties. One of the nurses gets bitten. Manel recalls a video where a man talked about a safe way to move. There is a critical flaw in their method. The top is not covered, allowing zombies to try and climb up to them. But the axe proves to be a good deterrent. Everyone gets in the helicopters and starts them up. At that moment, bandits rush into the quarantine zone, making their way through the infected. The leader orders them to shut down the helicopter. Mattia realizes he has no choice. He opens the grate, letting the infected in. There were too many of them and the bandits are killed. Mattia eliminates any survivors and jumps on the ladder. It seems like victory, but as they approach the island, they pick up a signal from Belen, who warns his brother not to come to the island while fighter jets fly overhead with bombs. But this is where the film ends.
you.